I know I keep going, but I just have to. Okay, so this is in Moses chapter 1, and Moses beholds the presence of God, and then it says that in verse 9, Moses talks to God face to face, and in verse 9, the presence of God withdrew from Moses, that his glory was not upon Moses, and Moses left unto himself, and he fell into the earth. And, after many hours, he's like, whoa. He gets up, he's kind of out of it. Mine eyes have beheld God, but not my natural, but my spiritual eyes, for my natural eyes could not have beheld. See, like his physical body didn't have the ability, because fallen things can't comprehend the things of God. There's a blockage there, okay? For I should have withered and died in his presence, but his glory was upon me, and I beheld his face, for I was transfigured before him. See, this process of entering into God's presence just for a little bit while we're mortals in order to talk with him, that, like, let's say Moses goes through, or Joseph Smith, or the brother of Jared, or whoever, this process that's being here about Moses is true for every prophet that enters his presence. It's true for us to enter his presence. This is the process. Even if it doesn't talk about it in other scriptures, this has to happen. And that's not Cameron LeDuc making that up. That's other leaders of the church, like Bruce and McConkie and many others who, you would consider like, the scriptorians or whatever. They teach this doctrine. This is what has to happen, is you have to be transfigured. This process Moses is going through. And that's what the endowment is this process. Then it goes on, it says, it came to pass when Moses had said these words, behold, Satan came tempting him. Moses, son of man, worship me. And it came to pass that Moses looked upon Satan and said, who art thou? For behold, I am a son of God, and the similitude of his only begotten. And where is thy glory, that I should worship thee? See, Moses is emphasizing, like, you're not glorious and awesome and shining and everything like God. Why should I worship thee? For behold, I could not look upon God except his glory should come upon me, and I were transfigured before him. But I can look upon thee in the natural man. Is it not so, surely? So he's like, you and I can interact without any kind of transfiguration. And so what's special about you? You see, the things of God can only, you have to have this process happen. And that is the atonement process. He says, blessed be the name of my God, for his spirit hath not altogether withdrawn from me. See, so like, even though God has left, not all of it has withdrawn from him. Or else, where is thy glory? For it is darkness unto me. And I can judge between thee and God, for God said unto me, worship God, for him only shalt thou serve. So Moses is saying, I can judge between you and God, because a little bit of his spirit is still on me, it hasn't altogether left me, and I can tell you're not glorious. You see, it's the Spirit of God that's giving him the power of discernment to judge. It's the Spirit of Christ that we read about just now in Moroni chapter 7. And so that's a free gift that all of us have. Even if you and I never go up on a mountaintop like Moses and talk to God face to face, we have this power in verse 15. God's Spirit hath not altogether withdrawn from any of us. And the reason why is because Christ planted it there in our bosoms, in our souls, through the atonement process. You see, because he extended God's power into every nook and cranny. Without it, you and I would be outside of God's power, and we would be in the devil's power. We would be lost at sea in the sea of chaos. And so, like, Christ brought his power to us and connected us so that we can at least do verse 15. Now, if we are, obedient and faithful and we do the things we're supposed to do, we can go up the mountain like Moses and see God face to face too and be even more transfigured. And that's what the endowment is describing. The light of Christ is just here in verse 15, you could say. Okay? And when I talk about the sacrifice and the smoke filling the air and everything, remember, the children of Israel, they needed a pillar of fire at night, so it's like light shining in the darkness. But they needed a pillar of cloud during the day to shield them from the sun. And so you can think of the sun as like God's justice, or like, the heat of the day is like, heat is a good thing. It comes from God, you could say. It's like, so, but you and I can't abide the fullness of the day. And so we love cloud cover. We love being shielded. We love the mercy that clouds provide for us. So you see, like, the sacrificial smoke goes up and creates this cloud of smoke that shields us from, it's a pillar of cloud that protects us from the day, from the full brightness of the day. so that you and I can be in the daytime. We can abide in the light, because you're still in daytime. It's just not as bright because there's a pillar of cloud shielding you. There's a veil shielding you, and that's who Jesus Christ is. He's the veil that shields you. It still lets some light through, but not all of it. That's the metaphor of the sacrifice that when you put it on the altar and burn it with fire. Okay, but then at nighttime, the fire burns in the darkness, and so it's a light in the darkness. So it does all these things. It protects you from the darkness. It protects you from the chaos. It also protects you from the full blast of God's presence, so that we can get at least a little bit of it, so that we can discern between good and evil, and maybe slowly make our way up the mountaintop, so that we can actually rejoin God's presence face to face. That's the thing. And you and I used to be slaves to the devil. We were slaves in Egypt, you could say, and he ransomed us by putting a little bit of his spirit on us, so that we can judge between the devil and God. We can judge between fallen things and good things, evil things and good things, bad things and good things. Okay, so we can choose the good and repent when we make a mistake. And that's the reason why, is because Christ brought that light to us in our weakness. But he had to come to our level to do it. There's like some crazy sci-fi thing happening in that moment. All things were present before him, and he was able to touch each moment. Like the brother Jared, when he reached his hand through the veil and touched the stones and lit them up, it's like he was transferring the light of Christ to those stones. You and I were like dead, spiritually dead like a stone. But by reaching through the veil, coming through the veil and coming to us, he was able to touch us. Like his vicarious suffering, this is what I mean by touch. By vicariously suffering for everything you've ever suffered, which is not just sins, but every moment of your life where you've had affliction. And just because you're a fallen being, every moment of your life is affliction, whether you recognize it or not. He has touched every moment of your life, is what I'm saying. Like the hand reaching out and touching the stones. And he's filled it up with a little bit of light. That is the truth. I am testifying to you guys that is true. And you are lit up because he touched you. Because that's what the vicarious suffering was a touching, an entanglement. And there was a transfer from him to you, and from you to him. You put all your crap on him, and he put some of his goodness on you, so that you now can discern between good and evil, and maybe make your way up the mountain. And that's grace. You didn't deserve this, and you didn't do anything for it, really. He just gives it to you because he loves you. And so that's why I focus so much on the light of Christ, is because it's the most important part of it all. Everything else will flow out of it. It's the glory of God that raised Jesus Christ from the dead. So that glory that you and I are getting is the glory of the Father transmitted to us through the Son. And it's the very power that, if it's planted in us like a seed, like Alma's seed of faith, it will grow. If we nurture it, it'll grow into a mighty tree of life, and we will be like fully alive spiritually. But it's also, even if you and I don't respond to him, it's enough of a hook that he's hooked into us that he'll pull us out of the grave. Everyone will be resurrected because the light of Christ has been implanted in everyone. It's the light of Christ that will raise everyone up, because that's the power of God. It's the power of God that will affect that. So just know that, like, by suffering, and that's what 2 Nephi 9 says. I want to show you. Second Nephi 9, and it says, "And he cometh into the world that he may save all men, if they will hearken unto his voice. For behold, he suffereth the pains of all men." See, all the pains. Yea, the pains of every living creature, both men, women, and children who belong to the family of Adam. All the pains, and you're in pain all the time, whether you know it or not. Every moment of your life is fallen, and as I've pointed out, fallen life is miserable, cut off from the presence of God. You're carnal and devilish. How is that not a pain or an affliction? So every moment, you have to believe this. Whether you got to quit thinking you're so self-sufficient. You got to quit thinking that you, like, on your own, can do all this stuff. You have to quit thinking that. The scriptures tell us the opposite, that you would have been miserable without it. So any joy you feel right now, if there's any moment of joy in your life, it's because Jesus Christ lit you up with his light. Like, it all comes from him. All good things come from God. Like, start believing the words, the actual words. Like, really believe what they're saying. Does he mean all good things come from God, or just some good things? If all the good things come from God, that means that you and I don't, every good thing we experience is coming from God. Okay, and how does he do that? Transmitting it through the light of Christ. And when he says he suffers the pains of every living creature, if he's saying that you and I would have been cut off and fallen and miserable forever without his atonement, then fallen life is a life of every moment of pain, is a life where every moment is pain. So he suffered all of those moments, meaning he came into contact with all of it, and he suffers that the resurrection might pass upon all men. Oh, I love that. See, it's not just so that you and I can repent. It's not just, it is. His suffering allows us to repent. His suffering also allows us to overcome our trials and to have them redeemed. And so we can learn something from them, and we can grow in everything, and we can overcome them. But also, his suffering is what enabled the resurrection. Because he put his hooks into us. He put a little, he's connected to us now. He's entangled with us. And where he goes, we will go. And that's, maybe I'll get into the next video, is the ascension piece I keep talking about. If he went up and he's got hooks into us, he's hooked himself in, he'll draw us up. You guys have heard that phrase before. He's going to draw us up to where he is. And that's the resurrection. Okay? It's a real thing. It's a real power. It's not just a concept. It's not just an idea in your head. If it was just an idea in your head, then why couldn't he just, this is the necessity of it all. It's none of it is needed unless it really is a real thing, a real, material. Otherwise, these are just ideas. Why do we need these ideas anyway if they're just ideas? Why not just come up with a different idea? And, all right. So, but it's real, it's material. And the light of Christ is the root of it all. It's like the root of the tree of life that was replanted in this life, like the little seed that was planted in this life that can blossom into a full-blown tree and bring everything good with it, including this wonderful blessing of the resurrection, which finally pulls us out of this fallen life and into a fully redeemed life, completely out of bondage, no longer wandering out. We might not be in Egypt anymore, symbolically speaking, but we're still wandering around in a wilderness. We haven't reached the promised land yet. And someday, through the resurrection, we can reach the promised land.